with Darren Gurney, baseball guru for high school kids. New book, Baseball Smarts, which, well, we all know New Yorkers are baseball smart, but this may be for everybody outside of New York, maybe. Anyway, Darren Gurney coaches high school baseball, has a lot of insight, really just helping you if you're thinking about if you want your kid to play better, or you are a kid out there, you want to play a little better, you're playing high school, or you want to play college, or you're younger, you want to work towards high school baseball. First of all, there's a great book to pick up. It's on Amazon.com, and we're going to break that down a little bit. I love hearing, like, trying to get an idea, like, where all of you are. So if you're there, tell me who your favorite team is. Tell me what part of the country you're at. If you have some questions for Darren Gurney, any baseball questions about, what little leaguers should be doing or young baseball players should be doing, because that's really the rub right there. And like, how much should a kid pitch? Are we overdoing it? Should kids play like multiple sports?
Yeah, baseball's changed so much the last 5-10 years at the youth level, but even at the major league level, in terms of all year-round training and all the different techniques, and we got exit velocities and launch angles, and people are really turning it into a science.
When do you think we know that a kid's got something special? Is that something a kid's developing, or can we all of a sudden, like, a kid's 12, 13 years old, it's like, wow, that kid, that's not normal?
I would say 11 or 12 is when I noticed it at our camp.
Yeah.
And we've been fortunate to have 5 guys come through who played pro ball from our camp.
Who? Let's name drop.
Okay.
We love name dropping on this program.
So the first is Tom Kohler, who you know, pitched most recently with the Dodgers, but spent most of his career with the Miami Marlins.
Yeah.
And most recently, we had JoJo Gray, drafted by the Reds. He was involved in the blockbuster deal with the Dodgers.
Wow.
New Rochelle
That's
kid.
a big deal.
Yep. And we've also got John Valente, plays with the Tigers minor league organization.
All right. So you've seen some talent come through.
Absolutely.
Why'd you write this book, Baseball Smarts, 100 Questions to Measure Your Baseball IQ? Why this book?
The impetus for the book was I was coaching a team in Japan, an American, a 15U USA baseball team in Japan, and boy, it was hot there. And what happened was one day, and I had terrible jet lag, by the way, so I was waking up at 2:30 in the morning every day, working out for 2 hours, and then I just start playing with lineups and whatnot. And then one day I woke up and the skies were opened up. I mean, I looked out the door, and you know when the umbrellas go inside out and sheets of rain are going like this, and I had a mini panic. What am I going to do with these guys? There's no batting cages here. We're in a business area of Japan, Tokyo. So I typed up a 25-question test for the kids. And it ended up being a real hit, because I had to kill 5 hours with them, basically.
And that's kind of the impetus of this book, is you're asking the kids questions about what they think is right, wrong, or how you do certain things?
Yeah, it's a baseball IQ, though. So,
yeah.
For example, what are 8 ways to get to first base? Or how far is the catcher's throw to second base?
How far is the catcher's throw to second base?
127, 3 3/8 inches.
Wow, I never thought about that. So that's a long throw. As my son learned, because he was a catcher.
Yeah.
Kids around that 11, 12 moving to the big diamond struggle.
So we know that the bases are 90 feet.
Yes.
And we know from math class, the Pythagorean theorem, that a right angle, you can do a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Let's not get crazy here. This is why I hated school, and why school was a real struggle. We start getting into a squared plus b squared. But I'll stay with you for the time being. Give it to me again. We know in math class, a squared plus b squared equals
c squared.
C squared.
So if you know 90 squared plus 90 squared, you'll be able to get that third part of the triangle. And that's 127, 3 3/8. And it's important because a lot of kids don't really practice throwing from the right distance.
Hold on, what's that, Ben? Baseball manager, Ben at Maryland, right? You know your baseball. What's the distance between the catcher and second base?
130. Good guess.
That's not bad.
I'll tell you what, Ben.
127. You're off, but
I'll tell you what, Ben. Give us 8 ways to get to first base.
Hey, give us 8 ways to get to first base if you're out there. 8 ways to get to first base. The first person to get that's getting a $100 gift card for Steiner.
Woof.
All right, that's fair. Let's go. A little participation.
I love it.
Right?
I love
8
it.
ways to get to first base. Or if you're smart, well, baseball smart, get this book. But 8 ways to get to first base. We'll come back to that question.
Sounds good.
What's the big takeaway in this book? Like, what have you found? Like, what are the kids loving about this book? Is it for parents? Is it for players?
I would say people of all ages. I think the big takeaway has been, hey, I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a Mets fan. I watch baseball every night. I realize I don't know that much.
Really?
I don't. I'm talking about all the feedback I've gotten. People are saying to me, I don't know much, Coach. I had no idea why they guard the lines late in a game. I had no idea why the pitcher and the shortstop do this to each other with man on first base. So I had no idea why the batter will sometimes tap the top of his helmet.
Why does he tap his helmet?
If the umpire, the base umpire is in his vision, his line of vision, he may ask him to move. So a lot of these nuances that people have played at the college and pro level know, the average baseball fan who's tuning into a Yankee game has no idea about a lot of these things.
Wow, I love that. What's the best takeaway from this book?
I'd say the best takeaway I got is a lot of people said, I realize how little I know about baseball. I've been a baseball fan my whole life. I've watched baseball at nighttime every night when I get home from work, and I realize how little I know.
What's your take on baseball as an overall, as far as the rules? You see all these delays with, they're going to the monitor, they're looking, pitching changes. What would you change? What do you like and love about the game? And are these problems just on the major league level, or they were all the way go down to high school and around that? Is the game too long? Does the game need to be shortened? What do you think?
I'm a traditionalist, so all of this instant replay, I understand humans are going to make mistakes, and I didn't mind umpires making mistakes, even when I think it was Jim Joyce on that young kid's perfect game with the Tigers a few years ago.
Yeah.
But, that's humans. But in this day and age with technology, everything has to be done right, and it ends up slowing it down. They want to speed the game up, yet we got to get guys looking into the booth or on the headset getting the call right.
So long. But what do you say about the things about the collision at second base or at home plate, or what do you say about the collision at first base? Should there be a base runner base at first?
We have that at the youth level. I don't think we should have that at the college or major league level, but people have talked about ever since the Buster Posey collision at home plate when he was catching. Obviously, the famous one is Pete Rose in the All-Star Game knocking over Ray Fosse.
And Posey too. Took him out for a year. I mean, you wonder about these things. What do you think about the, where everybody goes on one side? What do you think about that? Where all of a sudden you take the shortstop, he's playing by second base.
So the shift is interesting, and if you look at the statistics, the amount of shifts that have increased in the last 5 years is insane. They're even shifting at the minor league level where there's less and less scouting done.
Is it working though? And should it be allowed? By the way, tell me out there, I'm sorry, do you think the shift is fair? Would you keep it or get rid of it? I don't know. Like for me, I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game, boom, shot right down the middle. And there's like the shortstop, or there's the third baseman. I mean, what is the third baseman doing by second base? I think I'm an Abbott and Costello skit. Who's on first? No, what's on first? No, what's on third? I'm like, I don't know where the hell these guys are supposed to be playing. I'm like, if you want a shift, bring an outfielder to play the infield.
I'm okay with the shift. I'm okay
with
the shift, Brandon, because if the hitter can't go oppo and hit the ball.
Are you teaching hitters to do that more and more? Or?
I am, but if you look at the higher levels, they get paid to hit home runs.
Yeah, I know.
And they don't mind striking out 200 times a year. Even the guy who's in the 7-hole.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge strikes out a bunch. Who cares? He's going to make up for it.
Aaron strikes out over 250 times.
But at least
Stan striking almost 300 times. Over 500 strikeouts between the two of them.
Yeah. And the Yankees are going to have to come to grips with that with the postseason. Does that win games in the postseason? You look at the last few teams that won the World Series, the Red Sox, the Astros, the Royals, the Cubs. They put the ball in play. They don't swing and miss much. And those days are over. When you and I were kids, Brandon, it was 2 strikes, choke up, hit it the other way. Yeah. No more.
What's your take on J.D. Martinez, one of our guys, an exclusive here? Love him. What an amazing story and turnaround. How does a guy like that do something like that in your mind?
I think training techniques. J.D., I've seen him do a lot of lectures on his swing, and he's really gotten technical with his swing path. And he understands his body and the swing that is most tailored for his body type.
You see high school basketball, huge on TV. High school football, huge on TV. Why not high school baseball? Why aren't we seeing more high school baseball?
I think too many high school baseball players who are really talented don't end up making it. Whereas the first high school basketball player I saw was LeBron James on ESPN. And he ended up obviously not only making it, he's one of the best of all time. In baseball, the #1 high school kid or the top 5, they may not even make it past single A. So I think because it's a crapshoot. Now, if you go down to Florida, you will see some high school baseball on TV, but it's much more rare. And
Do you
you're
think it's a turnoff, though? The fact that you get these first-round draft picks, they never make it. And also the turnoff for the kids. They're scary, as good as they are. You end up spend 2, 3, 4 years in the minor leagues making no money. Then you got to play. You don't make a lot of money. Maybe I should just go play football, basketball.
I think that combined with the fact that baseball's a slower game and it doesn't suit everyone's motor. A lot of people are wired.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to start and stop.
Or you got to stand in right field and maybe not get a ball for an hour.
Or for the entire game.
For the whole game. Or you're going to bat, and then you may not get up again for another hour and 20 minutes. So not everyone is suited that way, especially with attention spans not being what they were. People are so hooked to technology and instant. So baseball is a thinking man's game. It's a slower pace. It's not for everyone.
What's your take on the Hall of Fame? What'd you like? What'd you dislike? Who should be in? Who shouldn't be?
I find it interesting. There was obviously Mariano was a great professional.
It's our newest show guy. That's our guy.
That's our guy, but greatest closer of all time. With one pitch, he threw that nasty
Have you ever seen
cutter.
somebody work less, do less, and get more accolades? I mean, in life. I mean, have you ever? I mean, other than inheriting huge amounts of money because a relative you never met died, have you seen anybody make more money, do less, and have more success?
Amazing.
I mean, the guy worked like 6 minutes a night. He threw 4 or 5 pitches. He was in the locker room showering. He didn't even break a sweat.
Yeah, imagine you can make money that easy.
God, it kills me.
But the amazing thing,
he did it with a lot of grace.
He did it with one pitch.
Yeah, he did.
Very fluid and elastic. I would say his delivery is very elastic. And
Great form, good fundamentals.
And that cutter, even if you knew it was coming,
yeah,
it would run in. It would run in on a lefty's hands, and righties had a tough time going with it.
People don't realize how much of a student he was too. He worked on his craft a lot. He was a student. I kid around about the time, but he really was a student. He worked really hard on his body, and I think his fundamentals were perfect. If you ever look at pictures when you teach pitching, I mean, you can have breakfast on that delivery leg.
Absolutely.
So, you know what I mean? Like it was. His form was, just so perfect.
And it's not an accident that he was rarely hurt. I think the only time he got hurt was he was shagging fly balls against the outfield fence. Mussina was a controversial one. I'm glad he got in. A lot of people look to the fact that he had a 3.68 career ERA. He only had 120-game season.
American League, though,
But he pitched in the American League East his whole career during the steroid era. So what he accomplished is remarkable. Great athlete, 7 Cy Young Award. 7 Gold Glove awards. Shows that he's an athlete, and he actually grew up. He was a terrific basketball and football player as well. People don't know that. Yeah,
I was working with him when he was in Baltimore, young.
Yeah,
doing store appearances for $1,000 when he first came up. But he was really popular in Baltimore. People forget.
Brainiac. I mean, Stanford economics degree in 3 years.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's unfortunate he didn't get into that. Get that World Series ring. But he was a really great ace. What do you think about some of the other guys?
Well, Halladay obviously was a real tactician. He could spot it up well. He was tall, so he was able to really have precision on the mound. When I think of Roy Halladay, I think of precision, and dominated the game in his prime.
Yeah.
And Edgar's a special hitter. Edgar didn't try to do too much.
Surprised you DH though?
A little surprising, but I think again we're in a steroid era, and they're not getting guys through who might have been suspected of steroids. So people are going to get in who might not have otherwise.
Yeah, it's true. Opens up the door for others because the others. Yeah, that's a good point. Who else got in?
Those were the 4.
Is there one other guy that got in?
No, those were the 4. But the reality is, not all inductees are equal.
Wasn't there
there was like the committee earlier in the year that voted Lee Smith and Harold Baines.
Yeah, Lee Smith and Harold Baines. What do you think about that?
Again, Harold Baines I don't think gets in if we have
no steroids.
No steroids. Lee Smith was a terrific closer. the fact that he and Mariano both got in, though, they don't measure up, right? I mean, they just don't. But that doesn't mean Lee Smith doesn't deserve to be in. You know, Babe Ruth is in the Hall of Fame. That doesn't mean every hitter that gets in the Hall of Fame has to be as good as Babe Ruth.
A lot of people are going to come out for Mariano up in Cooperstown, though.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, they come out for every Yankee, and there's nothing like it. But this will be a little different because he goes outside the lines of, you know, just a bunch of Yankee fans going. You know, baseball fans are probably going to come out and see him. And you know he's going to give a great speech.
Let's talk a little bit about his cutter.
Yeah.
So most guys throw a cutter like this, across a four-seam across the narrow section of the horseshoe. And the key thing is the middle finger. The pressure is applied with that middle finger. Now, Mariano had big enough hands that he threw his cutter across the bigger portion of the horseshoe. And the key is to make sure your hand stays back and let that middle finger have the friction on it.
Are kids in high school throwing this?
I would say the prominent pitches in high school are fastball, change, curveball. Once you get to college, most college pitching coaches stress a slider. But more and more guys are fiddling with a cutter. Not many throw it effectively.
What do you tell young kids that are in Little League, let's say, that prime Little League age, which is, to me, it's 10, 11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the best sport of all time, 10, 11, on a small diamond. You see Little League World Series out there, right?
Yeah.
What do and everybody thinks it's going to be the next, Mariano, Jeter, Roger Clemens, whatever. What do you tell those kids? Like, what's the best thing that they should be doing? Because I think a lot of parents, they're running their kids to the batting cages, but what should they be doing?
I think it's important to always remember baseball is fun. And if you're not having fun in baseball, you miss the point of it. I believe Bob Lemon said that.
Yeah.
And too many parents put pressure on their kids. And once they've invested time with lessons, time at this program or that travel team, they end up kind of putting pressure on the kid. And when the kid gets in the car, the first question should be, did you have fun? Not, oh, I can't believe you let that 2-0 pitch go right by. It was a meatball, Johnny. You should have hit it. It's got to be about fun. And then obviously, fundamentals has to be stressed. We have to learn the game fundamentally sound with proper mechanics.
There's no question. Do you think that is there anything like that you could do to event? Is it just not enough high school fields? It seems like there's just not enough fields like for kids to play. And we're seeing a diminishing amount of kids play organized baseball.
Oh, you nailed it. Well, there's a few reasons for that. You're right about the fields in this part of the world because real estate's a premium. But if you go northern New York, for example, there's a lot more fields, beautiful ones. And you've been up to Cooperstown. As you approach it, you see all those fields up there. The other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, a sport like lacrosse, which is fast-moving, and I can hit, and I can run around and be active.
That's what kids want.
A lot of kids want that.
Do you think baseball's in good shape, in your opinion, just from the viewing so many youth and so many young kids compared to other sports? Is it safe? Because a lot of people talk about it diminishing, even though they seem strong. But I wonder, it's harder and harder to see more and more kids at the games. And is it in trouble maybe in the long term?
I think baseball will be fine. USA Baseball and Little League are making efforts. They have a play ball initiative to get younger kids into baseball and get them in a positive way. I've spoken to Rick Riccobono from USA Baseball about this, and the goal is to get them working on proper fundamentals at an early age and keeping it fun. And I mean, they do have a lot of competition because more and more sports are played all year round. There's specialization where kids want to do football or soccer and do that for 9 months, or basketball.
All right, Darren. Baseball smarts. Give me your 5 best baseball smarts. By the way, anybody come up with that?
The 8 things?
Yeah.
All right. Catherine submitted.
Catherine, that's what I'm talking about. It's always a woman who's just always smarter.
Well,
than
they do the
else.
book. They go to the game and they do the book.
Exactly. The women are just killing it now. They go at the games. You can have an intelligent conversation with them. It's unbelievable. They actually know the game.
Catherine's assistant coaching for the first time, she said, this year.
Well, good luck, Catherine. And, go kill it. Love it.
She had a couple questions that we will ask. But as far as her 8 things she submitted, we'll test coach here. Catcher interference.
Nice.
Walk, hit, steal on drop third strike,
Nice.
hit by pitch, fielder's choice, error, and defensive interference.
Catcher's interference, not defensive indifference.
Yeah, she said defensive interference. So
Great job, Catherine. Excellent.
Is that true?
She nailed it.
Because the tricky one there was...
I think a lot of people don't know catcher's interference.
Yeah, catcher's interference.
Interesting, Jacoby Ellsbury has the Major League record 31 catcher's interferences as a hitter.
Has a major league record for
31.
not doing anything, getting paid a lot of money. Son of a bitch. I mean, unbelievable, man. How much money we're paying him. Where the hell is he? And I thought he was a good get at the time, too. But that's another story for another day. I'm happy with my Yankees. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, where the hell is Jacoby Ellsbury? You didn't bring him up. That's not right. When was the last time he played? I mean,
It feels like a year and a half ago.
unbelievable, man.
He was so terrific with the Red Sox too, but that was a contract year,
Yeah,
and he put up a career season.
You said there was a couple questions.
Catherine had a question. How old do you think you should be before you start throwing a curveball?
Great question. I get asked that all the time. I think 14's a good age. A lot of people want to start doing it at 11, 12, 13. I'm a believer in throwing 4-seam fastballs, 2-seam fastballs, and change-ups until you're 14.
And accuracy.
Oh,
Focus
absolutely.
on accuracy at that age, because you can't focus on accuracy later on.
So, Catherine, we want to go 4-seam, we want to go 2-seam, and then we want to go change-up.
We got to get Rick Peterson back in here, too, by the way. He was unbelievable. He sent me a Christmas card. Yeah,
Rick's
I
a
love
great
Rick.
guy.
How great is Rick? His insights, unbelievable.
I was on a pitch count panel with Rick Peterson 2 years ago. Phenomenal baseball mind, obviously a guru of
He's
pitching.
baseball smart, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Oh, he's big-time baseball smart.
Anyway, you're going to give me the 5 best baseball smarts. You're going to kind of give me a quick little list of baseball smarts.
Okay.
Give me your top 5 baseball smarts.
All right, 1. Again, why does the pitcher and shortstop do this with a man on first base?
Okay.
I don't know if anyone out there wants to write into my man Drew about why that happens.
Number 2.
Number 2, why do we guard the lines, or why do the first and third baseman move over towards the base a little more at the end of the game very often?
And I assume to guard for extra bases.
Yeah, we're trying to prevent a double. If it's a tight game, we want to keep that go-ahead or tying run off of second base.
Same reason we guard the baseline in basketball, not to get an easy layup. I don't know what that has to do with baseball, but anyway, what's number 3?
Number 3, why do coaches not always put their worst hitter in the 9 slot?
So they get another leadoff hitter?
Could be another leadoff. Statistics will show them when they put the worst hitter in the 8 hole. That'll show them that sometimes they score more runs percentagely.
Okay. And last one?
Let's come up with something a little different. Why would a team do a 5-man infield? Why would a team bring in an outfielder and do a 5-man infield? So you got your first baseman, your second baseman, your shortstop, your third baseman, and now we're going to bring in a corner outfielder, maybe a right fielder or
You
left.
got a really fast person on third base, and there's 2 outs, and the game's on the line.
Game is on the line. You don't want that guy to score, and you don't want a ground ball to get through the infield. So you're expanding your range on the infield of knocking a ball down, because that run can't score, otherwise you lose.
Are you finding kids are adaptable and interested when you talk about this baseball IQ and learning more about the game? Because a lot of kids, and even me when I was younger, you just want to play the game. You don't want to learn the game or understand what's required to really be extraordinary in the game. Do you find that when kids are interested in learning the game?
I think that's a great question. I would say it depends on the kid. Some are intellectually motivated as baseball players, and on others, like you said, they just want to go out and play. Let me just hit, let me just throw, let me take ground balls at short. But it's the kids that understand the game, and they can read angles off the bat, they can make good decisions in the batter's box. Those are the ones that get to the next level. So
Baseball Smarts, I like that. Love that name of that book. A couple other questions. Anything else, Drew?
Yeah, here's a good one from John. He says,
love it. I tell you, the 5, they love we love baseball, right? We're loyalists here. We're not going to let that sport go down, but the sport does need some adjustments. The sport does need a couple minor something. One thing for sure is we're going to have to figure out, do you think they should have a couple more guys on the roster?
Well, they expand to 40 men, as you know, at a certain date. But
should they have 27 where two just don't dress?
Well, that would be good for the bullpens, obviously,
yeah, I mean,
or a pinch runner.
They're going to start bringing in 80 bullpen guys and some guy who's pitched 8 games in a row, his arm is hanging on a thread.
They would probably save some injuries.
For God's sakes, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
What do you think is the leading cause of Tommy John surgery among young pitchers?
Great question.
Great question. So if you're really interested in that, read a book by Jeff Passan called The Arm. For me, the #1 reason is all year-round training, where we're no longer playing football, basketball, baseball. We're playing baseball 10, 12 months in a row. And when you combine that with the strength training, and we're throwing with heavier bodies, so the ligaments, and ultimately the Tommy John surgery is the UCL, the ulnar collateral ligament. That ligament is snapping or getting frayed because we're training more frequently with a heavier body because we're lifting weights. So for me, it's all year-round training. But if you read the thesis, Jeff Passan's thesis, in The Arm, no one knows for sure why there's such an increase in the propensity of these injuries.
Wow. Drew?
We got one more here from Joe. Do you think bunting should be taught more in the lower leagues?
I'm a big fan of bunting.
Especially when there's nobody at third base.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they could just lay a bunt down.
Kills me.
If they could just lay a bunt down, they would have an instant base hit, especially.
Why can't the guy just throw a ball? I mean, there's nobody in the whole side of the infield.
So many players say it's because they pay me to hit home runs.
Well, that's exactly right. Unfortunately, if you look at postseason baseball, when you need a bunt, most guys can't lay it down, and most coaches don't call for it because they haven't called for it all year. Bunting doesn't sell tickets. 3-run homers over the 400-foot sign sells tickets. So
winning, but yeah, it's crazy. It drives me nuts. Darren, great to see you, man.
Likewise.
Baseball Smarts. Pick it up on Amazon if you're a baseball fan. Want to learn a little more about baseball? Pick this book up. And what's your social feed? What's your handle or Facebook?
I'm on Twitter at Coach Gurney.
Okay, cool.
But see what your baseball IQ is. See, are you someone on the back here? We have all these categories. Are you a baseball genius? Are you a baseball near genius? Are you superior baseball intelligence? Just like a real IQ test, you can get your grade on how much baseball you know.